I hate to break it to you, but there is no such thing as the perfect partner. I feel like we could spend so much of our times trying to imagine a better love for ourselves, whether we are single or dating or in a committed relationship. We can often spend a lot of time daydreaming, thinking of the values that we want our partner to have, thinking about how they can better themselves if we are in a relationship, thinking about how we can have a better love. But what we rarely do is ask ourselves how we are actually showing up as a partner. And today we are going to be talking about that discrepancy because I think that when you are wanting to have a better love, it doesn't start with the right person. It starts with showing up as a clearer, safer, and more emotionally responsible version of yourself. Because emotional responsibility is sexy. When you are in a relationship or dating someone, you want to be with someone who is of value. However, we really think about how we need to bring that value to the relationship as well. And we are going to be talking all about it today. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of To Be Known. If you're new here, my name is Makayla Morman, and I'm your go to girl when it comes to anything personal development related in your 20s or beyond or younger. I don't really care how old you are. What I want to talk to you about today is this idea of bringing value into your relationship and expecting it back. Because at the end of the day, relationships are reciprocal. And if we want to have a high value partner, if we want to have a high value relationship, then we ourselves have to bring in that value as well because it's all a give and take. It's not a push and pull because that is a game, but it is all a give and take. And I feel like at the heart of this episode that we are going to be talking about today, I'm going to be guiding you through some hard truths that you need to hear when it does come to what value you can bring into a relationship and what you can expect from your partner in order to have that better love that you might be looking for. Because value is so, I don't want to say that it is subjective. However, it kind of is. But at the end of the day, all we want in a relationship is to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved by another person. And what I think is the most attractive quality that really sets the tone for a healthy, loving, better relationship is this idea of emotional responsibility because it is the most attractive thing that you can have is to be someone who is so sure of themselves, so sure of their emotions, so willing to communicate and to be able to be present. It all starts with having that responsibility for yourself when it does come to your emotions. Because if you don't have a grip on your emotions, then it's really hard for you to see the value within yourself. It's really hard for you to even see the value in another person when you are so up here and so absorbed in your emotions. What I want you to take away from this episode overall is that you need to become the partner that is safe enough to build a lasting love. You need to give your partner value and expect it back. That is like the main message of today. If there is one thing I want you to take away from it, it is that. So let's get into it. I want us to get on the same page of what I mean by giving value. Because this does not look like overcompensating. This does not look like overgiving. You should not be giving and giving and giving too much of yourself into a relationship. That is just not healthy. What I mean by giving value is by living to a set of standards that feels good to you, that you don't feel like you have to expect things in return when it does come to giving value in a relationship. Your standards, the value that you are able to pour out into the world, whether it is in a relationship, in your job, in your friendships, these are the guidelines of how you show up. It's how you live your life. These are not expectations that you have placed upon yourself. These are not expectations that you have for other people. These are just your standards of how you like to live your life. Giving value in a relationship does not mean that you are overfunctioning. It does not mean that you are fixing or giving up so much of yourself that you feel like a shell of a human being within whatever relationship you're in. It means that you are showing effort. Because if you want effort, you have to give effort first. Giving value in a relationship means that you are being an active participant in connection. With that in mind, this is what value actually looks like in a relationship. It looks like emotional availability, where you are able to connect and you do not disappear. Value in a relationship looks like follow through. It looks like you do what you say that you will. Your actions follow through with your words. Value looks like effort without resentment. And that one is super key. It also looks like accountability for when you mess up, because nothing is sexier or better than someone who is able to own up to their mistakes and apologize for them. That's such a strong sense of value that you are able to provide in a relationship, as well as just for yourself. But my favorite way that you can show value in a relationship is through presence rather than distraction. So these look like bids to connect. This looks like when someone cracks a joke, you laugh, you respond. When someone talks to you, you look at them in the eyes, you don't stare at your phone. It looks like trying to have genuine and honest conversation without thinking about all of the other things that are going on in your plate. It looks like genuinely showing up and being an active participant in the connection. When you think of all of these ways that you could show up in a relationship and give value, the most important thing to remember here is that value, true value, is found in consistency with all of these things that I just talked to you about. Value is found in continuous effort and emotional effort, and these moments where we need to connect with one another and see each other for who we are. When you are giving value to your partner and expecting it in return, you have to be someone that your partner is able to rely on, not just be excited by. Remember, there is a reason why we connect with people in romantic relationships. It's typically because we were intrigued by them, we were excited by them, we got to know them, we started to fall in love with them, and somewhere along the line, maybe you just got used to each other and you just got comfortable by being distracted, by not following through. And if you are in a relationship right now and you are thinking, oh God, how can I have better love in my relationship and give value to my partner and expect it in return? It's by showing up with all of these things. It's by honestly asking yourself, am I showing up with all of these ways that I can provide value to my partner? And do they do the same for me? Have an honest conversation about it. And if you are single, I really want you to take into consideration all of those categories that I mentioned and reflect on your past relationships, situationships, or just who you are right now and how you are able to show up in your life and see, are you bringing value? Are you living up to these standards for yourself? Because you cannot expect these things in return if you yourself are not showing up in this way. Remember, this is about giving your partner value and expecting it back. Because when you want to create the baseline for a lasting love, you have to show up and be the partner that you would actually want to be with. Now that we have a mutual understanding of what I mean by this idea of giving value, of showing up with value so that you can expect it in a partner back, we got to go over some hard truths. And these are things that no one wants to hear, but I really just have to talk about them. Because when you are in this mindset of, okay, how can I create a better love, whether you are single or dating or in a relationship, there's just some truths of the matter that you have to understand. And the first thing is that you cannot expect what you do not give. And we've already kind of touched on this, but we need to dive into it a little bit deeper before we go on into the episode. The truth is, you cannot demand what you do not practice yourself. If you are in a relationship or a situationship, dating someone, single, and you expect them to be a way that you are not, that is just unfair, point blank. Like, you cannot expect anyone to be something that you are not. You cannot demand communication if you avoid hard conversations. You cannot demand emotional safety if you steer clear of when things get uncomfortable. You cannot demand effort if you are emotionally half in. If any of that just caught you off guard and you might have realized a little bit of a truth about yourself, this does not mean that you are a bad partner. It just means that you need to have more awareness of how you actually show up and what you should expect in a relationship. This just means that there's more room to grow for you. Because when we want a better love, when we are feeling lost or stuck and just unsure about our partner or ourselves in a relationship, there are so many ways that we can just be healthier in a relationship, so many ways that we can have more of that emotional responsibility that I touched on earlier in this episode. And it's by taking accountability, it's by looking within and asking yourself these questions. Are you being clear with how you communicate, or are you being indirect? Do you speak up early when something is upsetting you, or do you wait until you become resentful? Do you regulate your emotions, or do you outsource handling them? Do you expect your partner to read your mind? You got to answer those questions honestly, because if you actually want a better love, if you want a better relationship, if you want a better partner, remember you have to start with you. Better relationships start with people who actually take responsibility for how they show up in a relationship. And so, if you aren't able to answer those questions honestly with yourself, do you really think that you're ready for a better love? It's all about you at the end of the day. When we want to have a better partner, when we want to have a better relationship, when we want to have a lasting love that nurtures us, we have to nurture ourselves. We have to help ourselves grow and become the partner that we would want to be with, because we cannot expect to be with a person who isn't showing up like how we are. Because if we're showing up in a way that isn't healthy, if we are showing up in a way that doesn't give value to our partner, we cannot expect them to outpour and pour value into us. It's just not how it works. If you are anything like me, you need to understand that love is not earned by overgiving. It is sustained by mutual effort. Giving value in a relationship does not mean that you are overfunctioning. It doesn't mean that you are fixing, chasing, or tolerating less than you deserve. The truth is, you don't get a better love or love at all by trying to prove that you are worthy of it. Overgiving in a relationship will always, always, always lead to resentment. It is a feedback cycle that at one point in time in your past, you might have learned helps you get love, help you receive love, help you feel safe in the world. But overgiving will always lead to resentment. You will always end up resenting your partner for not noticing how much of yourself that you are giving. You will resent them for not noticing what they are doing. You will end up resenting yourself for giving up so much just to be loved by another person. Overgiving in a relationship is not the same as giving value. And I really just want to make that so crystal clear, because this is a lesson that I had to learn in my own life. It is an unfortunate truth that when we feel like we are giving everything that we have into another person, it makes us feel like that is how we are showing love. But in reality, what that actually is control. Overgiving is a lack of boundaries with yourself and with other people. Overgiving is a lack of emotional responsibility, because you are taking emotional responsibility for the relationship. You are taking emotional responsibility for another person. You are not taking emotional responsibility for yourself. When you love from a place of overgiving, it will always bite you in the butt. It is a selfish thing to do, even though you don't actually think that it is in the moment. Because when you separate yourself from this idea of overgiving in a relationship versus actually giving value, this distinction will become so clear in your mind. And you will see that it is a selfish, controlling thing to do. When we overgive, we expect to be seen. We expect to be heard. We expect to be appreciated, because it is what we are so desperately trying to give this other person, what we are trying to get from this other person, but it's not coming from a place of genuine love. It's what we once learned could keep us safe in a relationship, because we so desperately want those things, to be seen, to be heard, to be appreciated, but it doesn't actually work for anyone's benefit to overgive in a relationship. When we come from a place of overgiving, there is a tendency that we will pull back and demand from our partner what they might not be able to give us. Maybe this demand is either silent and we expect them to notice. Maybe we are sharing this demand verbally, But when we overgive so much in a relationship, chances are that person is not capable of giving at all because you've put yourself in a situation where you're probably an anxious attachment style with an avoidant attachment style, and they will never be able to give as much as you need in return. Overgiving is a hot and cold game to play with yourself and with your partner. At this heart of overgiving is this idea that you are doing all of the emotional labor it takes to sustain the relationship. And that's not love. That's just management. And that is all about control. Effort isn't romantic. Consistency is. Now we're at the heart of the episode where we are actually talking about becoming the partner that we would actually want to be with. And of course, that always comes with a little bit of self-reflection because we cannot understand what we need to gain without reflecting on where we are at now. So I want you to ask yourself these couple of questions to understand how it is that you might be showing up in a relationship, whether you're currently in one or if you are single. I want you to answer these as honestly as you can. If you were in a relationship with yourself, with all your flaws, with all of the ways that you handle confrontation, would you feel emotionally safe with yourself? Looking at your life and where you are currently at now and what you prioritize, if you were in a relationship with someone else, would you be able to feel prioritized by you? If you are in a relationship with yourself, reflecting on your communication skills, reflecting on your emotional regulation skills, would you be confused by yourself at all if you were in a relationship? With all of these things into consideration and you understanding how you think you can show up in a relationship or how you show up in your current relationship, would you feel like you're being chosen by yourself as a partner day in and day out? Think about it. Are you actually willing and able to reflect on yourself? Are you able to take a microscope and really take a look at your flaws? That's what those questions are about. What I really want you to understand from all of that is I asked you those questions because when we love and when we are loved by someone, a lot of what love is being able to look at a person's flaws and be okay with them. And also have another person look at our flaws and them be okay with us. And when you give value to your partner, when you show up as a partner who has a lot of value to bring to the table, yes, we all have flaws. It is a part of human nature, but some traits that you can bring to the table as a strong partner look like this. Being able to communicate needs without guilt or games. Being able to listen, to understand, not to get something out of it. Being able to make space for repair after conflict. Being able to self-soothe through a situation without escalation. And a strong partner does not punish with silence or withdrawal. They don't punish, period. The strongest partners are not perfect. They are the people who are accountable because consistency is key in a relationship. Anyone can be intense when it comes to love, but not everyone can be consistent. If you want a partner who values you, you have to become the person who is able to see value in another person. You have to be able to put your ego to the side and show up and see someone exactly as they are and choose to love them for it. To love and to be loved is to see each other up close and to choose to be with each other's flaws. True love means that you put your annoyances to the side and that you choose to accept another person as they are. At the end of the day, love is wholehearted, undeniable acceptance. With all that being said, I really want you to understand that it all comes down to acceptance. Acceptance of yourself, acceptance of another person, acceptance of whatever situation you might be in, short-term, long-term argument, or being happy. It all comes from a place of acceptance because that is what true love is. So if you are single and you are looking for a relationship, make sure that you are coming from a place of acceptance, because acceptance and this idea of emotional responsibility really holds the foundation for being able to show up as a partner who is ready to give value and who is ready to expect it back. If you are in a relationship though, I really want you to answer this question of, am I really willing and able to accept this person that I am in the relationship with as they are? And if your answer is yes, then you need to ask yourself, are they able to do the same for you? And if your answer is yes for both people, you have a good relationship. You have something that is worth staying in and creating a lasting love, because that is the foundation, that is the basis of true love. But if you cannot say yes for both people in the relationship, then you have to have some conversations. You have to face some hard truths. And I hope that this episode is giving you a little bit of insight into that, because we can't talk about giving standards without also talking about expecting them back. We've talked about giving value, and now we're talking about expecting it back, because this is when standards really comes into play in the reciprocal part of giving value and expecting it back. When you are trying to create a better love for yourself in your life, whether you are single or in a relationship, you need to become someone who can actually hold a relationship and stop negotiating with people who will not do that with you. Giving value does not mean accepting less. Healthy love is reciprocal. It is not one-sided. You are allowed to expect and receive the same amount of emotional presence that you give. This is what standards and expecting it back all boils down to. Because when you see all of these traits that I've mentioned all throughout this episode, and you see that you are actually willing and able to give that to another person, if they are not able to give it back to you, that's a cause for concern. And I'm not saying that everything has to be 50-50, because nothing in life is a perfect 50-50 split. Some days you are going to be in a relationship and you are going to go through a period of time where you are giving more than you are receiving. And then you'll be on the receiving side more than you are giving. And that is just a period of life. That is the truth of life. But when you are looking for this better love, when you are looking to try and figure out how you can give your partner value and expect it back, you have to start within you. And I know I've said that a million times since the start of this episode, but it's the truth. You deserve a love that is willing to show up and give it right back to you. So let's talk about the signs of reciprocity. When your partner is giving you value, they do not just promise, they continually try to show you love. When you are with a partner of genuine value, they will adjust their behavior, not just apologize. They will show curiosity for your inner world, and they will take responsibility without defensiveness. Yes, we could all be human and we can be defensive from time to time, but it should not be all of the time. At the end of the day, when it comes to having standards, it is all about reciprocity. And if you are in a relationship or in a situationship, dating someone, whatever it is, and you are doing all of the work and they are not, that is not a communication issue. That is a mismatch in people. That is a mismatch in readiness. By this point in the episode, you have an understanding that having a better love starts with you. Being a better partner does not mean that you are flawless. It means that you are willing, because when we are willing to show up in a relationship, to be accepting of another person, to be able to regulate our own emotions, it all starts with this idea of true growth as an individual. When you want to have a better love, you need to meet this other person with a willingness to try, a willingness to connect, a willingness to communicate and to be a better version of you for yourself and for this other person. You have to be willing to reflect instead of deflect. You have to be willing to repair instead of avoid. You have to be willing to grow instead of protect your ego. And you have to be able to admit to when you are contributing to the problem. The best type of love happens when both people are willing to grow. With all of this being said, If you want a better love, don't wait for it. Build it yourself. Build it within you, whether you are single or in a relationship. It all starts with you. Be the partner that you would want to come home to, and do not settle for less than mutual care, mutual effort, and a mutual willingness to love and to be loved and to accept one another. That is how real love is built. In my opinion, lasting love is built to last when people are willing to grow, not just stay. So give value and expect it back, and see what can happen for you in your life when you are able to love someone, to accept them. Because remember, true love is to be able to accept another person undeniably, wholeheartedly for who they are. And you should expect that back. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I really just wanted to talk about this today because I feel like it is so unspoken, this truth of if you want to have a better partner, if you want to have a better love, then you yourself need to show up better. Because when you want to have a relationship that feels like it will last, that actually nourishes you, you have to be that yourself. You have to give value and expect it back. This is just such a topic that hits so close to home. And I know right now when this is coming out, it is February of 2026. And so love is at the top of mind for a lot of people. And I hope that you are able to build a love that lasts. And remember, it all starts within you. And I promise it's my last time saying that today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give this video a thumbs up. If you are watching on YouTube, click subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, please give this video or podcast episode rather a 5-star review and follow on there as well. Please drop a comment down below, just like a takeaway that you had from today's episode. I really love hearing from you all. And if you really want to follow along the To Be Known journey, please follow on Instagram and TikTok at To Be Known Pod. The links will all be in the show notes below. And with all that being said, stay true to you. Bye.